I feel like some people don't realize that like I am a real person as well, right? You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you, sitting next to me, he's totally not real.
He's a hologram.
No,
but like
Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast. Today is an extra special one because I'm here with Jentzen Ramirez.
Hello.
And Luke Nappe. Yes, there is a family resemblance. And, there is not a lot of nepotism here because, we just run out of people and I just have to pull anybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, I'm super lucky because what today is, as you know, we've been doing a lot on the entertainment industry. Obviously, that's what we're covering here. However, I'm super fortunate because I have two young actors, male actors. And what's interesting is if I'm lucky, I'm going to have two female actors, young, to be able to follow up, and both with a bunch of different perspectives of the industry and all that. So that's what I want to chop up for everybody. So this is going to be great for the parents. It's going to be great for agents. It's going to be great for people who want to get into the business and know about it, because when you start finding out their backgrounds, I think you're going to be thoroughly impressed. And hopefully we can cover a lot of great ground on this. And with that being said, let's go right into the meat of it. We already actually talked before we started rolling on this intro. We talked about why parents and everybody should leave the room. The most important thing as a young actor is the pressure. If you think about it, the two gentlemen sitting next to me have had hundreds of people on set around them, staring at them, and the intensity it takes to be a professional actor is a little more than what people think it is. And what's unique about that is I'm looking at getting Jentzens' thoughts on that, because he's come from both sides of it, and he's moved into the influencer side where it's just him and a camera or just one or two people versus having 100 people on set. And there's a whole different expectation, whole different levels. So I think as we start getting deeper in this podcast, you're going to find a lot of different things that are applicable to very seasoned actors and people who want to get into it. So with that said, I'm super honored to be sitting here, and thank you both, honestly, and my son as well. Actually, speaking of that, I never force him to do anything. He knows this, even just the other day, that he or his sister, even though I'm a parent, I'm his parent, I've learned as a actor myself that if you push somebody, they lose the creativity. They'll shut down. They won't want to do it. Why don't you tell me about like your journey? You don't have to get personal or feel whatever you want to share.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory first. When I first moved out to LA, I was about 6. I moved from Austin, Texas with my sister, and it was because my sister really wanted to become an actress. And so I moved with my sister and my mom, and my dad had to stay back in Texas, which I actually think is kind of a common thing, because I've heard this story of like where the parents will separate for the kids so they can fulfill their dream of like moving out to LA and becoming an actor. And so like the parent can like stay and provide for the family where his job is, right? So I moved out to LA, and my sister really wanted to become an actress, and I saw how much fun she was having, and I started taking acting classes and auditioning for some commercials, and I started booking a few things and moving into where the parents are in the room when you're like doing self-tapes or watching you on set. It was hard for me, especially because I felt like I was being judged, and they would give me so many notes, and I felt like I couldn't do anything right. And we talked about this a little bit before we started rolling. Like, after you leave, like, when you do your self-tape, like, your parents in the car, and sometimes they're going to give you a lecture of, like, all the things you could do better, right? And when that keeps happening over and over again, it starts taking the joy away from the kid. They will not want to do acting anymore. They will not want to do whatever they are trying to pursue if the parents constantly lecturing them and telling them how much like they could be better at something.
And I really want to go deeper, especially on the influencer side and the conversion.
Right.
But before we get into that, I really want to make a note for everybody to say, and it's funny because my whole thing is not trying to moderate or even lean into camera and look at everybody in the audience, kind of breaking fourth wall. But the reality is, I can tell I need to emphasize that so much because I've seen so many child actors. I've seen so many different actors that the parents don't know what they're talking about. So you don't know what you're talking about. I can't wait to see how much flame I get from this. But the bottom line is they do it because they love it and they love you and they want to. It's like soccer. Oh my God, But the reality is, we as people in the industry, if you've been in the industry, you've watched tens of thousands of self-tapes, I can see in the first 2 to 3 seconds. We just covered that on the last podcast we did. In the first 2 to 3 seconds, I can tell if you're comfortable, if you're not, if your head's in the game, if that first moment counts. And if I see that, and you then get to the next or callbacks or wherever, you can tell if your parent or it's so obvious. And the parents obviously think, here's the hardest part. As a parent, you think you're doing the best thing you can. You are truly just sucking the energy out of your young performer, and it's such a weird thing as a parent to be in both sides. Right. So I've tried so hard, and I feel like I get a lot of calls from parents in the industry like, hey, I'm like, but I've sat on both. I've directed movies. I have so many adult actors that I work with on self tapes in this. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I can tell you times where even in my family early on, I'm like, I'd have to talk to my wife and be like, listen, like if you're going to ruin this whole thing, and they wanted it. So I'm sure you've seen that. I mean, Luke, you want to throw anything in there? Feel free. I might go onto the bus right now. Everybody, let's see.
I would say it's a very different scenario for me, because when I first started acting, he told me that he used to be an actor himself, and I was like, okay. So I started taking his opinion more seriously. But then again, there is a lot of pressure having like your parents there, because it feels like they're trying to wear two hats at the exact same time, like trying to encourage you so you don't lose your energy. But at the same time, like if you're not doing good, then they want you to know that you're not giving your best performance. So it's a double-edged sword, kind of.
I mean, I have spent hours and hours on one self-tape. And by the end of it, if I'm filming it with my parent, sometimes I never want to touch a script again. I never want to do a self-tape ever again. And so you have to be comfortable, and I think you have to do it with the people you are comfortable with, right? And it has to be fun. If you're not having fun, then you can tell on the camera. You can tell.
Well, I know you were talking about those rules up there.
Right.
If you read the other ones,
that's the first rule in the book. That's the first chapter.
Really?
If you're not having fun, literally, we see it. You know it, and you connect even with these. Anyway, I'm going to let you keep talking. Yes, you're right.
But it's crazy because, like you were saying, sometimes the parents don't even know what they're talking about, because most of the time, not all the time, the parents just drop their kid off at the acting class
all the time,
and they're not watching the acting classes. They're off somewhere else, at a coffee shop sometimes, right? And so the kids are the ones studying the acting classes, and then when you go and film your self tape with your parent, they don't know what they're talking about because they weren't there.
That's exactly
like
right.
getting pulled in two different directions, and like, well, I went to this acting class, but then it's my parent. They probably know what they're talking about, but at the same time, it's like they're not doing it in a helpful way. It's not constructive.
Right. And so like sometimes I would go take like a private acting class for a specific audition, and then I would go film it with my parent, and then my acting coach told me one thing and my parent told me one thing, and then like now I'm stuck in the middle and I don't know what to do. And so I'm being pulled in two different directions, and like you don't know what to do. So then I feel like I have to kind of like ride the line and do both. And then that never, I feel like, turns out well. I kind of have to pick and choose.
Adding to that, I've actually seen, and hopefully get my daughter to explain a story about an agent she had where she actually did a tape and then said, then the agent said, no, they want to see happy kids and stuff like this. And she's like, no, and did it again and said, which one do I submit? And I'll let her explain it. Okay. And hopefully we'll link it to this one, and then you'll get a kick out of it, because it doesn't just happen with parents. It happens with like people who, I'm just going to say casting people who put you on tape. We'll just say it that, a bit broader statement. So you as the actor, you know what you want to give, you know, and we haven't covered this, but I'll go really quick. One of the biggest challenges, and you looked up on the wall and said your opinion doesn't count, which is very interesting because this is when you look at film as a director, it's my medium. When I start recording, I'm going to have you do that take 10 times until I get what I want. But in theater, as soon as that curtain goes up, you can do the performance any way you want. And I'm not stopping the theater. So there's and as an actor, you learn that early on. You're like, okay, I'll play it this way until the curtain opens. Yeah. And then you see actors who are like, that. I think I can say that it's an adult podcast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the scene I want. So it's very interesting, the differences in theater and film from that perspective of how you're managing who's behind the camera, who's in the thing. And as an actor, you know, you get to know yourself. And I think you know when you nail it, right? I mean, I think is that you guys, when you're doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, you know, when you're not nailing it.
Yes.
We've all been there. We've all had those days.
We do.
I think it was interesting what you said about being pulled in two different directions, because Todd brought this up last podcast, and I think it applies especially to younger actors.
Right.
Especially in the scenario of, like, if your parents in the room and you're filming with somebody else and you get two different opinions, is that when you try and play the middle of the road, that's where you get run over because you're not making one choice or another. And the choices that you make in acting are what makes you stand out and could book the role.
Right.
So if you're nervous and you're like, oh, I want to make both people happy, you're not going to make a good choice. You're going to play it bland, and it's just going to turn out flat.
And that's another one of the rules, make us remember you. Anyway, I got to get this book out soon. But what you just said, and where it's fallen on you, it's when you think about it, what do we watch on TV? Do we watch the boring people? Do we watch the people that play it down the middle? Is that what sells?
No. You have to go all the way. You have to fully commit. And so I specifically remember this one time too when I had an acting coach, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with the way how she got me to get the scene done, but I got the scene done. Like I had to cry, and for me, I've never been like able to really cry on camera that easily. But like I had a dog, right? And she made me sit down and just like imagine my dog dying and like getting run over, and it was really sad.
More method to come down.
No method. But like, I mean, I ended up getting the scene done, so I guess it works.
So as the ends, you know, justify the means. We'll put some links to.
Yeah, I didn't really see her again, so.
You like that? Was an emotional
scar.
It's a whole bankroll of emotions there. All right. Well, so clearly we're hitting the topic, and I think parents are watching this going, well, no, that's not me. That's not me. And the reality is it is you. But you know, I can say that because I'm a parent, and you know. Anyway, moving on to that. Tell me, so then coming back to that, what excites you? And this is to both you guys. What excites you today?
Would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I think what excites me today is I do lots of social media, and I'm very much in like the influencer world. And I kind of moved away from acting a little bit. I still enjoy it, and I still love it, and I still want to be an actor. But the reason I do social media more is because I like the control I have. I like producing my own content, because if I'm going and working for a production, they hand you the script, and most of the time you do what you're asked, right?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I fully support people who like want to do that, obviously.
Disclaimers. You can say anything you want. Where you're not getting canceled. I'm asking the questions.
Right. So, and I think that's great. But I like producing the content. I like having the final say of what's in the video and what's not in the video, and like what song goes there. And that's what I enjoy. I like producing my own content.
It's funny. I could definitely see that in you, you know, after working with so many different actors and growing up in the industry and being a director. And I truth be told, I had the fortune of hanging out this weekend. We did some incredible stuff down in Key West, the boat races, and so we've spent a few minutes together. And thank you for doing this as well.
Yes, of course.
And but I watched you when you were you're in the middle of filming one of the videos, and I could see the eye. You knew it wasn't like you were like, "Hey, what should I angle? How do I?" That's something that I don't think a lot of actors on either their. It's a different skill set.
It is. And what I like about it so much is when I do have to go work on a movie and stuff, now I'm learning all, like everything. So now I know how lighting works. I know how the camera works. I know how things are going to be edited behind the scenes. So instead of just knowing how to act, I know how it all works, and that can be a nice skill on set because then you can also help other people out, right?
I've been preaching that for years.
Right. I
The
think
whole reason to get behind the scenes is
Right.
to help everybody, help the team move more, flow better.
right, and I think like when you are trying to start a business in this career, I think it's good to learn every single aspect of everything. And then, because I used to edit my own YouTube videos before I hired an editor because I want to know how to do it.
Right.
Right. And I think it's also a good safety crutch because if my editor can't edit a video 1 week for me, I can do it. Right. And I also know how to tell him better how to fix things if I don't like it. So I think it's good to know how to run everything yourself. And so whenever you start scaling up your business, you can also rely on yourself as well.
I want to go back. We'll grill Luke a little bit because I think he needs to share some of his background
Yes.
in behind the camera as well. And it's interesting. And the reason I'm going to give you guys maybe a unique perspective, because we're going to have a young audience watching this too. What a lot of people might not know is, or maybe not, it's not that they don't know it, but sometimes perspective, they talk about history. If you think about it, I just had this conversation about, I referred to the acting book. The bottom line is, you could study method from 100 plus years ago. That was for theater.
Yeah.
There was no TV or, back in the day. And then it became TV or silent films. And then it became, obviously color. And now we're at the point where here we have a phone, and you're producing your own content. When you guys have you were born into this moment, right? You're born in this moment where you have all this technology. Back in the day, you could only be somebody running the film. You could only be the script writer. You could only now, because of technology changing everything, that you can literally make a movie on an iPhone. They've done it. It won at Sundance.
You can do it all from your phone.
And that's
you don't need anything else to start a business in this career, especially in social media. You can start all on your phone. You can get millions of followers just from a phone. You don't need a camera. You don't need lighting. You can go outside, find a nicely lit area, and film a TikTok or a YouTube video or take an Instagram picture, and you can make it.
So what is so then? With that being said, so both of you started as actors. We'll call it as traditional actors,
Correct.
agents doing auditions, commercials. Now, I'll step out and say, what would you ask each other? Because now it gets interesting because it's not my perspective. It's what, like you just said, you went from there to being social media. And I can tell you he's gone behind the camera, a lot of different stuff. So what do you think the journey is for you? I mean, not what's your future, but what do you think that journey has helped you with? As you see, like you said, from a content standpoint, as an actor, somebody who, like you said, everybody wants to get into it. What thoughts?
I think it's really important that actors help each other out more so, because we're kind of getting to the age now where we're going to be adults soon, and we could start making our own content. And this is his favorite quote to bring up, is like how Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote Good Will Hunting because they weren't getting any auditions and they weren't booking anything. So they decided to take it in their own hands and write something. And now it's one of the most famous movies.
Yeah.
Right. And nowadays I see auditions and I see them turning down people because they don't have enough followers or not getting enough views. And so I think it's also important because to have those things and create your own content. And you can also create content and show it to people, and then they can buy it from you. And then they also know the abilities you have.
Oh, right? I like what you said, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Watch this.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, hang on. Because I've been with a lot of different casting people in that, and you're more of an anomaly because, and I know I'm getting hate for this. There are a lot of people that just jump on social media, like you said, and they can hit something, but an actor to portray a character is a little different. And I think I'm not going to call anybody out, but there was a big movie made just recently with a very large influencer. And you all know what I'm talking about. And that thing went, so that was Hollywood. At the end of the day, somebody's putting up millions of dollars to make this movie.
Right.
So if you have a following, awesome. Right. I love it, right? Maybe because I'm thinking maybe some of the people who follow you are going to buy a ticket to my movie or want to go see it. Or if you're crossover, let's say you're a crossover artist, Harry Styles. I just watched his new movie. We just watched it, and we both watched it separately. And somebody said, "No, he did great."
Okay.
And, you see him as a singer, but he's also been in front of the camera. Right. So my screen went blank and I want to keep you up there. We got to keep tapping the screen. There it is. Hey. So with that being said, I think because you've had that discipline, you can produce, you can cross over. I've seen a lot of social people try and cross over, and they never went through any type of training. What do you guys? I mean, what are your thoughts on?
Luke, do you want to go?
I mean,
hard question.
I know.
Some people really get lucky on social media and they get one viral video, and they keep doing the same thing over and over, and it keeps showing the same amount of like engagement. They keep on growing, but like it's not a long-term thing unless you can make it a long-term thing. Unless you carve out a niche for yourself where people are going to keep coming back because it's you and you're really good at this thing. But for somebody like an influencer, like the movie we were talking about, they're just hiring them because of the numbers, and they think that people are going to watch it because they're in it, and they will, but it's not going to be good, which defeats the entire purpose. Like, why watch something if it's not good?
Right.
Just because your favorite influencer's in it.
Because I think at the end of the day, people are going to go watch a movie if it's good. If the acting's good. Because like if you go watch a movie and you tell me, wow, the acting was amazing in this movie, you should go watch it. I'm going to go watch it. But if you go watch a movie and tell me the acting was horrible in the movie, I'm not going to go waste my money. I'm not going to go watch the movie.
Right. Every actor, even Ryan Reynolds jokes about Green Lantern. He's like, just please, look, we never, like, when you have it, and like we've even said when an audition, and I'm not calling that out, I'm just saying it's kind of one of those things. So, and going back to kind of where both you said, when we're saying social media, I think you could also break that down a lot into, I mean, it's super different than like we'll go not Vine or TikTok or Musical.ly or YouTube, long format, Instagram, who knows what's coming next. But, you may be really popping off in a 5-second video, but what you're doing here, this takes a lot more energy, right?
And people keep coming back because it's you. They like you and your personality and your editing and
It's because I think what a lot of people don't understand is you really have to know how to brand yourself correctly. Because if you can make people feel like they're a part of something, that it's exclusive, that not other people are a part of, I think that's important, because that makes people want to come back and watch you, because they feel like they're part of you. They know you. Like they feel like they're a part of something, right? And so I think that's what a lot of people don't get, and I think that's what separates the big influencers from the small influencers.
What do you think is the hardest part for you as I won't call you a crossover because you're still, I mean, yes, you've leaned more toward production and your own video, your own content, but that doesn't mean that, jump back into a movie or something like that. You have the skill set. Where do you, both of you, see the industry going to because your demographic, right? I mean, think about, there's a huge change here where in the past few years with the networks and streaming and content, and everybody's viewing it on these, and like the game's changing dramatically. And what both your perspectives as actors, you're in the entertainment industry. What do you, thoughts?
I don't think movies or long form content's going anywhere. I do think it's going to continue to get shorter, but just because it's getting shorter doesn't mean it needs to be hastily put together. Like you can still make really good social media content that looks like movie quality, and it'll still convey the message. It can be just as powerful as a movie, but it's more condensed. I think that's where I think it's really good that you are putting like these whole productions together to create something like a project.
It's quality.
It's not just
quality
one video after another of just like
good quality.
Yeah,
always is appreciated.
I think quality over quantity is always better. Especially, I think that's the direction things are moving right now, and I think things are going in more of a streaming direction as well. Right. And I think that TikTok will be gone. I think YouTube.
Hot take.
I'm sorry. I don't think it'll be around much longer. I think YouTube, their new Shorts platform,
it's great.
It's going to take it over.
Yeah.
They're monetizing it, I think, January of next year. And all the TikTokers are going to leave and go to YouTube. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but if you can start posting Shorts right now and getting traction on YouTube, I think it'll be super beneficial for people.
Right. Yeah, I think it's kind of just people are throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the more you move into better quality, like you've invested, I've been in studios you've shot in LA, and I see you really treating it like, hey, I'm bringing you some entertaining content.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to be, is entertained. You know,
Yeah.
I have a huge problem with my generation in making movies that are only sad and, you know, everybody's got to be, I don't know whether that's a political statement or cancel culture, but I mean, you have a guy like Todd who did all the movies of The Hangover, and then he does The Joker and he goes, I can't make any more comedy because I'm too worried about being canceled. I'm like, what does that say about entertainment? What does it say as an actor and different things? So what I love about seeing your generation, like you said, you're leaning in. You're like, okay, I'm going to make this video, and you're putting your own money and your own time up to do it. And that's a huge statement, where a lot of people, like you said, they become instant famous for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another perspective. A dear friend of ours, the family is Eric Roberts, Julie Roberts' brother, Emma Roberts' dad, pretty famous Hollywood royalty, 700 plus movies, and he's constantly looking for the next movie. And when you think about that, it's not a, you know, it's not a, this industry is not a quick, I won the lottery and made a movie.
No.
Right? You've made a bunch of movies. He's been in, I know there's, you know, so you made a, and you're still out there every day hitting the grind.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I moved to LA when I was 6, and I'm now 16. And it wasn't until the last 3 years that I started getting traction. And nobody is ever going to see all of that hard work that you put behind to get to where you are today. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. No one's going to see the blood, sweat, and tears that you did. And it's just
instant success.
Right, instant success overnight, right? People only see what you show them online. No one sees all the hours of editing you had to stay
mistakes,
up. The mistakes, the all-nighters on your computer.
Camera out of focus you shot, the audio that was...
Yeah. Reshooting a couple videos sometimes because you had no audio. No one ever sees that.
Nobody. That's the fun part.
Yep.
All right. So
I think it's less of two separate categories of social media influencers and aspiring actors. I feel like we kind of divide a line between them. But really, I think collaboration between creatives and other creatives is super important, because Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they made one of the most iconic movies ever, and they're two actors.
Right.
Like, they don't have much experience. So if you can, as an actor, if you're not getting the roles that you want, or being in the projects that you want to be in, just go on and make it. And if you have good connections around you, and you know people that know how to make good content, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly. And I think, going off what you said, a big part of this industry is networking. If you can find a good group of people who want to make content together, I think you're set. That's all you need. You can go create your own content, just like those two actors did.
Yeah. Like we started with bold choices, friendships, trust, and that's what, you know, you even see in the big movies. And because you said it, it's like, if you trust that director as an actor, you'll lean into them. You'll make those big choices where you have to go, you know, people are like, are you making a fool out of myself? No, you're being funny, and that's good. So,
I mean, there's been moments on set where I had to do this like 3-page monologue. It was like a cheesy infomercial. I had to play this like out there character. Oh, thank you.
Thank Look at this. Wave to everybody, Andy. There's a man behind the counter. He's leaving. There's Andy.
Like, there's been moments on set where it's not just the director behind the camera, but it's the writer, the script supervisor, the producer, and literally at 5 minutes before I get in front of the camera, everybody pulls me aside and tells me like 5 different things. But then director pulls me aside and he's like, "You're gonna do this." I'm like, "All right." You always listen to the director because it's his vision. It's his. It's his child.
Another thing for me that bothers me, it's when there's and I even struggle this with my own production. It's when there's too many chefs in the kitchen, right? They all want something different, and you never know what to do. And I dislike that, right? It should always be what the director says.
You just need one person.
Yeah, just one person.
I lose my shit when that happens, because everybody's nodding behind the camera. Because what happens is, and it inevitably, you and I are doing a scene, or you two are doing a scene, and I turn around as the director. I'm like, I like this, but do me a favor. And as I'm having this conversation, somebody from the side just says, "Hey, why don't you?" And as soon as the hey comes out of their mouth, where's everybody's eyes go?
To that person, right?
I lost that moment of the acting of where, because this business, as we said, is about moments. We even started with even the parents. So when somebody opens their mouth, even eye lines, somebody will walk around, I lose my shit. Because it ruins the moment, it ruins the connection, it ruins that moment that you can't get back, and you have all these people. So it's so true, and you see it so often with kind of new directors or people where you just kind of, and you can do it in a nice way. I tell everybody, please don't say anything, don't move, just come to me after we got the scene in the can. Like, let me get, everything right now is digital. I can keep rolling. I'm not running out of film if I need to put another battery and if it's a great idea. And it has happened, and I grab that moment. I'm like, okay, let's go back and let's and what you'll start seeing with really good directors, and I'm not saying I am one, but one of the things I do is I'll say, hey, now that we had that moment, what do you have that you didn't do in that scene? And lean into it.
Right.
And then sometimes you'll get something really good where you're like, okay, we know we got it. Now where's the bonus round?
Right.
And then I'm like, and I always try when we have time, I'm like, okay, this is the actor's take, and get it out of your situation. And you get magic sometimes.
Yeah, I even do that for my self-tapes, right? It doesn't have to be just for movie productions. You can do it for your self-tapes.
There you go, everybody.
And going back to having too many people giving you input, like, especially on set rather than a parent, because the parent might not know what they're talking about. Everybody on set has their own vision of what this is going to look like and how you should play it. And it's not like their ideas are bad or wrong, but it's just, it might not flow the way it should be. Like, hey, remember this line on page 2? Can you say it like this instead? I think that'd be really funny. But then you go to the director and it's like, that won't flow. Right. It's not little chunks. It's one big... It's a big section that all needs to go together like a puzzle. Like, it's not just little. So if you have too many people, it might not be bad ideas, but it's not going to flow the way that the director might want it to be.
Right.
And you can still take those ideas and interpret them to where it would flow, but
yeah, it's like you may have a great chocolate chip cookie here and great red tomato sauce. You don't put it in there, right? They're different recipes, they're different ingredients. You just don't mix stuff. And the director's the only one that knows what the whole final meal looks like, because it's up in his head that here's what's going to flow.
Yep.
All right, we talked a lot about the acting stuff. This is really interesting. You guys, all right, go ahead. They're taking a sip of water. I was gonna make them come up with a question. So tell me, let's back up. Tell me about what, when you look at social media today, and you just said where you think things are going, what excites you when you go to produce some content? What is it that you do that you maybe don't even realize you do? Like when you're building a script or you're building, what is your creative process? Is it something an idea hits you?
I think for YouTube. So I think a lot of people don't realize how much planning goes into these videos, right? It's hours and hours of planning. We write the entire video out, we put bullet points, and then you have to book the locations you're filming at. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a village to pull it all in together. That video where you were in California when we booked that studio, and I had 18 Sherry Hill dresses overnighted the night before, show up on the day for 10 girls to wear. And I think he's pulling it up right now. Yeah. But in the social media world, a lot of things are last minute. So yeah, right here are all the dresses. And those came in the day of. And so a lot of it is planning, but a lot of it comes in at the last minute and when you tie it all in together.
Is this a clip of I think we have a clip of all the dresses here, right? But,
right.
Yeah. So
there it is, being a director.
There it is.
Yeah.
See? Hey, I know that guy. It's right here. So give us, so this is a perfect example. Tell us what it takes, because people we just said, I can just jump into social media. You can, but this is a whole different level.
Right. It also depends on what kind of content I think you want to make. Everyone has their own niche and what kind of style they want to create. This is more like my style. I like the game show type things, and I just like the whole challenge kind of things. And so you have to plan that out in advance. It took 2 weeks for me to plan this video, and I had to think of all the challenges. And I think also a lot of people don't realize that you can't just post a video to YouTube. If you want it to do well, it almost has to already exist. You have to look at someone else's idea and then you have to make it your own. And I think one of the reasons that is because of the search terms in YouTube, the SEO behind it. Because everyone in YouTube, I think you notice the trends are all done multiple times by different people. And that's because they're all using each other's search terms and they want to build their videos off each other. And now
create a moment.
Yeah, create a moment of movement.
Right. Yeah,
and they're all like sharing each other's views. They're all sharing each other's fan bases when they do that.
But do you think that limits some sort of creativity? If you have to, if new ideas don't do well, that you have to kind of play off everybody else's idea and make it your own?
It does. And so where the challenge is for the creator is you need to have a balance of doing what I said and then having a complete idea that's just your own. And I've done that a few times and it has worked, and some of them have crashed and burned that are just my ideas. But
you were probably more happy with the end product because it was completely your idea.
I've had a video that was completely my own idea. I filmed it on a 230-acre ranch and did hide and seek with I think 10 teenagers from college, right? And it was real. The last person I found got like $1,000, and I was like on a 4-wheeler in an ATV, and like it took hours to film, and we would close like the ranch in, so they had to move hiding spots, and it only got like 200,000 views. 100,000 views or something. And I know that sounds probably like a lot for some people, but but
for the money and time you put into that, you lost money on that.
I lost money on it, and but it's okay, right? It happens.
Yeah,
that's part of the game. So you have to find that in between of what's working for other people and make it your own, and then you also have to have your own ideas and just see what works.
Very good advice for everybody. You know, just get out there. And the past 2 years with COVID, everything that's gone on, where do you kind of see things, you know, if you could give yourself advice, you know, for a few years out, where do you guys go from here as actors?
I think the biggest advice I could give to people and myself is consistency. Just don't stop. Like, you just got to keep going. And even like when COVID happened, for example, everything shut down, but people still have to make a living and provide for their families and for yourself. And so you just, especially in this business, you got to get creative. And so I was doing videos with my friends over Zoom, and we did like last to leave FaceTime, right? And so we would all join on a FaceTime call, and the last person to leave it wins, right? And so we can all do that from our own houses, but right, we can't just stop our productions. You have to figure out how to keep going. And so even with COVID, we figured it out and we got through it. And so I think the biggest thing is that consistency. Just don't stop.
I'd say as an actor and less of a social media person, it definitely did put a big dent in the acting industry for quite some time. But I've talked to a lot of people in LA, and they said that in-person auditions are starting to come back more so in LA. So I will definitely be moving to LA in the very, very near future just to keep it going, because down here in Florida, there's not a lot going on anymore.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of productions are also filmed in LA for tons of things. But also because COVID happened, a lot of auditions went to self-tapes. Almost everything is self-tapes. And I live in LA. And all the auditions I usually get are self-tapes. I rarely see in-person auditions.
How the industry went, where you just covered all that stuff. It's interesting, yeah. I mean, and what I think is interesting, though, going back to the quality, it's, I'm not outing my son with his Darman video, but see, I had to get that reaction. His agent reached out. I said, hey, look at this. And go ahead, Luke.
Well, I knew who Darman was, and I think he makes really good videos, really good messages. So my agent reaches out, and my dad's like, hey, you have this audition due like a few days. I was like, oh, forward it to me. So I looked and I was like, Darman? I was like, hang on a second. So I continued reading. I was like, okay, sounds pretty cool. So I was like, you know what? I'll audition for it. I get the call back, and then I fly out to LA solely to film it. I stay there for the weekend, and my agent, I think, has reached out to me 10 more times since then, requesting me to be in Darman videos. even though it was a one-time thing. The thing is, I don't know. It was a really fun experience.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who worked on Darman. I've met Darman once at a Vid Summit, and everything I've heard about him seems really great, and the experiences people have from there seem really good.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it's where I would want my career as an actor to go towards.
Right. We're in a weird flux.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we're in a really weird flux right now in the industry. I'm trying to find the Darman video. Sorry about that. I don't remember.
It's a while back.
How long was that? Anyway, maybe we'll find it. But yeah, so I just think it's interesting because you look at the numbers on these things and the amount of views, 12 million views, billions, is like 30 billion views.
Yeah. I think it's great because he's creating actual, like, planned out videos, like full productions. He's hiring real actors.
And if you look at his channel, the amount of times he posts a week is crazy. Like, he has it down to a science.
Uh-oh. That was me. Yeah, that was it. Why did our TV go to sleep or something? What happened here? We lost signal. All right, I was going to show, but anyway. But it would, like you said about the quality and what's happening in the industry, and I think we're up. Are we up? Let me see. And I think that's the one, right?
Yes,
that's it.
It's way there.
That's it. Yeah, but I think it's funny because
there you are.
Because it comes in.
What? Who's that guy?
I want to see this.
Yeah, he was.
Oh my god!
It was really fun to film.
And he actually, what really hooked Luke was he was like meh, and then in the script it was like, no, we have. He's a world champion boxer, and Luke's done a lot of martial arts and boxing and all this, so it was really funny, and funny from a standpoint of he's like, oh, this will be fun, let me do it, and it
was right. Really fun,
and he had a blast, and so that's why I think for you guys, who you're making content, right? I mean, this is, where I think everybody in the industry is, you can sit around and wait for an opportunity or you can go out and get it, right?
Exactly. I think you got to go get it. That's the only choice. If you want to be successful, you gotta hustle for it.
So what about your fan, last few questions. So tell me what it's like being an influencer.
What do you mean by that?
I just accept.
There's multiple things to that. Like,
that's a loaded
question. I don't know. It's great. I like it because I can pick up a camera any time of day and film. Right? I can control it. I can control the time.
Freedom.
When it's the freedom of it for me. It's an amazing job. I'm very blessed to have it, and so I really like the freedom of it. And I also have met a lot of amazing people through it. And I also like really that I'm able to put a lot of people, like, smiles on people's face. That's what drives me.
Jentzen, I'm a biggest fan. Jentzen.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it when we went to Santa Monica Pier. Like, it's really cool to see like someone run up to you and smile and be
they
happy.
recognize you,
and want to give you a hug, right?
Now, is that a different demographic? Does that only happen at certain ages, or is it kind of, because obviously it's a younger audience, would you say?
It is a little bit of a younger audience.
I mean, no, there's anything wrong because they're going to grow with you. Like, they are. I mean, that's actually very powerful.
Absolutely. It is mostly a younger audience, but I've had a few like older people come up to me and say that they watch my videos and they really like what I do, and I've also heard like a few of them like tell me like how much like I've helped them through like things in their life, which is really nice to hear because that's like what makes me want to keep going, right? So that's what I enjoy about it.
Right, it's a hard life, and I mean, and obviously, like you said, it's it's entertainment. That's why people watch. They want to be, because no matter what's going on in your life, you get entertained. And so you as an entertainer, someone who makes entertainment. We all have our problems. I'm sure you have things you're going through in life yourself that you're not out there talking about, nor need you be, but it's not, it probably feels good when you can help somebody else with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little release.
Absolutely. I don't think many people realize like, I feel like some people don't realize that like I am a real person as well. Right? You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you sitting next to me, he's totally not real.
He's a hologram.
But like people come to me and say, oh, your life must be so easy, you have all of this, and I'm like, no, it's not. I have my own problems. I have my own family problems. Everyone goes through stuff, and you have to get through it. And so it's not, everything's not what it looks like on social media.
Right.
There's a lot behind the scenes that happens to people.
Very cool. Thank you for the honesty, and I think that helps. What so what do you guys? What haven't I asked? What's a good? What do you guys? 30-second bonus round. You each have to. You got to have we each 2 questions for each. You got 2 for here, 2 for there, and then we can wrap it up. And if anybody back there wants to throw out a question, we're taking live questions, but we're not live. It's kind of live if you're in the studio right now. It's live if you can hear me saying it's live.
For Jentzen, where do you see yourself and your content going to in the next few years? Do you see a change in your content?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. As I get older, it will get a little bit more mature as well. Because I have to grow up with my fans. If I keep making like content for younger kids, it's always going to be like that. And I want my fans to grow up with me, and I want to be a part of their life as well. So it will get probably a little bit more mature, but not like explicit and all these things, right? I still want to get like the brands, right? So I think it'll get a little bit more mature. I want to have a production team with me. Like I want to have my team behind me, right? And so as like I get older, I'm gonna continue to slowly build it up more. That's my goal.
Nice.
Very cool.
I'm thinking of a question.
This is when we're all out of words because we've talked ourselves out of yeah. Well, we got another minute to go. Yeah.
Vic.
Oh boy.
Why don't we ask you a question?
Oh, this is usually bad. This is where it all goes wrong.
Have you ever had do you have an interesting story of when you were like on set filming something, like a crazy thing that has happened to you?
Yeah, you can hear back there. So it's kind of funny you say that because the name of my company is Chaos Made,
right?
And I own a few of I own Big Chaos, Chaos Media Group, and and everybody's like Chaos, and they think of this crazy disorganization. And what people don't know about this business, and a lot of them don't know about me, with this crazy guy with this blue goatee, and now with a bunch of jellyfish stings on my face, would story for a different day. But I like to organize the chaos. I like to say, you make a plan,
right?
You check it twice. It's like measure twice, cut once. So I make this wonderful plan, or somebody comes to me with this plan, and just like right now, the TV just went out. See that? You always have to be, ready to improvise. So you can have the best plan in the world, but in this world of production and what we're doing, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with so many variables. Somebody will call out sick. Somebody will, I do actually have one that pops into my head that's about me, so I can tell, because there was a lot that were going through my head and I just didn't want to say it. But here's a great one. This is a few years ago. My daughter gets a casting. He gets it, but he's booked the whole month because he's filming on his season of PBS, his kids show. And I go to this casting. She's a friend. I take Jade, and she goes, "Come on, Vic, you talk about being such, acting and coach, and why don't you do it?" And then, of course, right? So I'm like, but it doesn't call for that. And then my wife as well, who gets yanked into this. So it's me, my wife, and my daughter. And of course, my daughter's grown up, and then I'm like, okay, come on, ready? Let's wing it. I'll open, you close, right? And so Tace, you just say this. So we do this audition. This back when they were in person, we right, and audition. Fast forward, we wind up, it wasn't even the way they structured it. They brought us in as a family, and I should have had this teed up. I'd pull it up right now. It's a Crest commercial during Shark Week, so big budget production, huge. And ironically, we book it. They rewrite it for the three of us, and we get the location address, and we're thinking how we're going to get Luke to set. We're going to move around. it's in this it was like the most surreal like Hollywood moment where it's like
Next door.
he's at the next door studio filming.
No
There's
way.
Studio A and Studio B.
Yes, so we're in Studio B, he's in Studio A. We're laughing about craft services, who's got better food on set. I'm like, I have lox. Why don't you come over here and have some of this? And he's like, okay, what? I'm like, what do they have on set? Literally walking set to set. It's. But wait, hold on. That's the good part. So what do I do in the morning? I get up and I'm doing a Crest commercial. I'm gonna brush my teeth. So I'm brushing my teeth, and all of a sudden, I'm like, what? And I kid you not, I have a filling right here. Can't see it. It fell out and it left a big chunk open. A Crest commercial. Granted, we're at set at 8 a.m. This is like 6:30 in the morning. What dentist can I call to show up, fill a tooth to film a national Crest commercial? I'm going like, and I've heard the stories because I'll get the phone call. They'll be like, "You won't believe this," and I'm just like, "What kind of bullshit's going?" Like, because I'm just like,
crazy.
But it happened to me, and thank God. I'm pretty sure they never went on tights. They never. I mean, we made the commercial. It's already aired. It's been out for a long time ago, and I'm sitting here going to myself, like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, how did I? I wonder if I could find. So when I say, chaos is going to happen,
Right.
That's what this business is about. You measure, you get it all planned, expect it to go wrong. The best people are the ones that roll with it. You got to be able to roll with it because if you don't.
I always tell people plan for something to go wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then you can adapt and know that it's so, there's one funny story that
I forgot about that.
You forgot. I literally was like, really?
That's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm looking Crest Shark Week. Let's see. I don't know. I got it. Hang on. Here it is. Discovery Channel. Let's pull it up. I don't know. Is this loading? Let's see. Here we go. And there comes Vic. Oh, you could almost see it for a second. It's funny. I never even.
That's you? You look so different.
It's the blue goatee.
It's the blue goatee. It kind of messes people up. Yeah. There. And that was my daughter, Jay. And we're talking about the shark and all that. There you go.
Wow.
So there you go. So ta-da. So there you go. So there's a true story. I have a chipped tooth in there. And I think I just saw it and I never looked at that. Well, there you go.
That's very cool.
Or filling that just popped out literally in 2 hours before. So you're thinking to yourself, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anyhow, so.
One more question.
Oh, fire away. That's what we're here for.
If you could give Luke and I and other people our age advice, what would you say?
Oh my God.
For this business.
The number one rule, and you said it. Enjoy yourself.
Yep.
The more you enjoy yourself, the more you lean into it, you will find your own voice. There's that term, find your own voice, but that's it. You guys are super accomplished young men. I mean, I didn't even call them out about, Emmy nominations and all that. Same thing with you, with millions and millions of followers and views, and what you guys have accomplished at such a young age already is for most people, they're just like, wow, but they don't realize that you're you. So you just see it. So as long as you never let that get in your way of your journey, like what you want to do. Like I said, I saw you, it's like him behind the camera. It's really interesting when I get actors and I'm traveling. I was just out in LA. Actually, I think we were in LA.
They were hanging out without me. I felt
we
were hanging out because I was at the film festival, the film market, and he gets a call from a friend, a student, one of my actors, and he's in his 30s, I think, or right around there, and calls up and it's like, better yet, I got the text. I'm like, I'm in LA. And he goes, what's up? He goes, I have a self-tape and I need help. And I said, well, Luke's still back home. I never heard another word except for they told me literally until I got back. He's like, oh yeah, we were at the studio and he came by and Luke literally coached him and filmed it. And so most people are like, a 16-year-old kid? And I'm like, do you know how they've grown up in the set, in the industry, been like, so that's where I think for you guys, the hardest part is being 16, but having the abilities of a 30, 40, 50-year-old, because you have had that much experience that the challenge is you have to, in your own mind, be like, I know what I'm doing more than this guy over here. Right. And how do you balance that without coming off with a being a young whippersnapper is the old, you know,
Right.
and like,
and the problem with that is sometimes people don't want to take us seriously.
100%. No, absolutely. Yeah. Because they don't, they look and go, oh, well, you know, what do they know type of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's definitely a challenge for sure for you guys. So that's why I say just ignore all that, get out of your head. The more you lean into it, ignore, because there's going to be people. I mean, I've been on so many sets and people like, they'll throw out a suggestion. Don't you think? And I'm like, actually about like, well, how many generations have I, you know, how many, like, I'm like, I kind of like, you know, yeah, it's nice, but I'm like, just sometimes just like I'm, you know what I mean? When I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. And that's where I say for you guys. So my biggest advice to everybody is don't do it because you, your parent, like we go back to how we open up, right? The parents tell you what to do. If that's not what you're feeling, then that's not going to be your true voice, and you're going to see it. The eyes are, that all the eyes are window of the soul. You'll see it in the video. You'll see if that's, you know, over time. Maybe not, maybe you get a 1 or 2 pop, but
that's probably the most important thing is having good energy and having people who you feel comfortable around to make your decisions and just have fun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Have
just
fun.
Have fun.
Yeah.
There you go.
The whole thing.
Most important thing.
Is that it, guys?
I think so.
I think we're, you know, if there's any,
sound pretty good to me.
I think you guys really gave a lot of honest and great feedback to everybody who's going to, you know, and parents. And if nothing else, the one thing I think we've wound up doing is hopefully if we could save some of our young actors out there. And I say to you guys, you know, maybe they can forward it to their parent and say, hey, mom and dad, look, here's some successful.
I didn't say it, but maybe you should take a step back. I didn't say it. They said it.
Yeah.
They said it.
Yep, they said it.
Exactly. They're the ones. And look at them. So, guys, thank you all very much. You know, honestly, it's such a pleasure having you
Thank you.
here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My son, you know, like I told you, I never make him do anything. Goes back to the beginning. I said, would you be involved? Because I think it's better to have a group of us talking, you know, sharing ideas. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Hopefully all of you who are watching this enjoyed it. And of course, all the tags to all of his incredible social below. And then we'll put some of your tags. And I think the movie's on Amazon, the new one out. And there's a few things out there. So, you know, which
we'll link it below.
Well, links below.
Links in the description.
Links in the description below. All right, guys. Is that it?
That's it.
We're done.
That's a wrap.
Is that a wrap? Is that what we say?
Thank you, guys.
All right.